Dear Dysfunctional Diaries.
This podcast covers sensitive topics like mental health, suicide, and drug abuse, which can be triggering. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please reach out for support. You are not alone. Remember, the information shared is for awareness, but always seek personalised guidance from a professional.
And you think you're just going to go past, and you presume you're just going to go past, and he pulled out. He's put into his drive, and we've smashed into it, and then deflected off into a tree. The door frame of the car, it felt like my head was up against it. It felt like the engine was on my lap. I got given 5% chance of using my limbs again.
How did having a life-threatening event at such a young age alter your view on life?
While this was all going on, my mum passed away suddenly to cancer. So it hit me so hard. I am trapped in my own head of needing a reason to stay alive every day. Doctors had told me I'd be back in a wheelchair at 40. So I went away and I was like, so it took me 8 months to learn to walk again. How about I climb the equivalent of Mount Everest over 8 months? Part of Everest was to find my breaking point, because depression didn't break me, the accident didn't break me. I've never given up. It was the first time since my accident that I felt that fight. So I was like, well, where is my breaking point? Maybe these mountains will break me. Ben Nevis broke me that day.
If you could just sort of give a sort of slight rundown as to what you do for anyone who's watching.
So I'm basically a counsellor now, but I broke my neck in a car accident when I was a youth, which left me with a spinal cord injury. I got given 5% chance of using my limbs again. So life kind of took a bit of a turn, which led me into depression and all kinds of other stuff. But then in my 30s, I went to see a few counsellors and it didn't kind of sit well with me, so I thought, I'm going to go study this myself. And I qualified to be a counsellor. I went and learnt about everything, and yeah, now I'm a counsellor, a fully booked counsellor doing six sessions a day, yeah.
Exactly.
So that's it in a quick nutshell, yeah.
Yeah. So when you were sort of growing up, what was the sort of like home life like? Were you in sort of like working class, or was it?
Yeah, I had a very privileged, what I'd call privileged childhood, but it was working class.
Yeah.
My dad's a car mechanic, was a car mechanic. My mum was a cleaner. But it was a nice childhood. It was a good home. You know, no arguing. Well, apart from me and my sister, there was a lot of arguing there, like siblings do. But I lived for football. Yeah. All I did was play football.
You might still support, but you supported Everton, didn't you?
Yeah. Still do, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm very passionate about Everton. I don't know how. I came out of school when I was 4 years old and just turned around to mum and said, Mum, I'm a blue. And it's been terrible ever since. So, yeah, it's been like that. But I love football.
With schooling, I was looking at an interview you did on YouTube, and you sort of said you weren't really that much of a passionate school child. You're more just sort of like the social side of things.
Yeah, because like I just mentioned, I am dyslexic.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I've never been diagnosed, but I am. Definitely, I can't read all right. Yeah, I can, but if I read a book, I'll read a few pages and go, what the hell was the first page on about? It just doesn't register, and you know, thank God for predictive text and stuff like that. It really helps me. But yes, I was never clever at school. I enjoyed school because all my mates, I'm very fortunate. Like the group of friends I've got, I've known since I was a child. Yeah. You know, when you speak to other people and other groups, they still can't believe that you're all still friends. It's pretty, like one of my best friends is the first person I walked into first met at infant school. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing, and we've all played football together. And because I represented the school at different sports, I think I got away with being crap. Do you know what I mean? And not educational. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause I wasn't a trouble causer.
No, but usually if you're good at sport, it sort of gives you a bit more of an outlet.
Yeah, and I think the educational system's messed up anyway, because it's like, you know, somebody could be really, really intelligent, but then not be able to handle the exams. But then it's like all their work, you know, they might have smashed it throughout the 2 years of GCSEs and exams not be very good at.
Yeah, but I think that's why they're kind of moving a bit more towards like coursework now.
Yeah, some of the stuff I learnt at school, I've never once used, and they say, well, you'll never have a calculator. Well, I have. I've got a calculator every day. I went into a sixth form, like welcome day, whatever, you know, open day kind of thing, just for a look, and I signed up to a business course because my mates were. I was like, wow, the job's always going to be there for me. So
Might as well see if you like someone else first.
Well, I think it was more, I'll toss it off for a couple of years if I'm being honest.
Right,
Thinking about it, your version's a bit, more kind of giving me a bit more praise, I'll see what else I'm up to now. I think, to be honest, it was more of a laziness.
No, I've got mates who do that. And sometimes, like, I looked at it and I thought, when I was coming out of sixth form, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew it was something within this realm of media. So I thought, let me just go give that a go. But then it is also kind of, you think, give me a couple more years. Just
I think that's exactly what it was. It was like, I can kind of just go get away with stuff. I think it was more that. And I went and did business, which served me no purpose whatsoever, because I did have a couple of businesses and I was clueless.
This was sort of around about the time that the crash happened, wasn't it?
So the second year. So I finished the first year and went back to do, because I think it was a 2-year course. I went back to do the second year, but obviously I had to do the 3 units and try and catch it up over. And I don't know, you go back on, like, it's just like the 5th of September, something like that, in early September. And the accident happened on the 16th of September.
Right, okay. So literally just
started the second year of sixth form,
And so, if you don't mind going into a bit of detail as to what sort of happened. I know that it was you and a friend in a car.
There's 4 of us.
Oh, it's 4 of you?
There's 4 of us in the car, yeah.
And then I know that you broke C4, 5 and 6 vertebrae in your spine, which is basically just your neck. Yeah.
So what happened was that we, it was a bit of a crappy day, just raining and stuff like that. And we, my friends actually lived opposite the school. And this girl wanted to lift home. She lived in a little village just outside town. So we took her home and had a cup of tea at her house and was just driving back. And usually when I say, we had an accident when I was 17, people presume 17-year-old, you must have been messing about in a car or something like that. And it wasn't. It was, we were coming back, we came over the brow of this hill. And a situation that you see every day, like a car was just waiting to pull into his driveway. So we thought we'd just drive past and we weren't speeding. In fact, we were 10 miles an hour under the speed limit. At the time, the speed limit on the road changed now, but at the time it was a 60 mile an hour speed limit. We were doing 50. And you think you're just going to go past, and you presume you're just going to go past, and he pulled out to pull into his drive, and we smashed into him, and then deflected off into a tree, and just smashed into the tree.
And so what's the first thing that you kind of like remember after? Were you just then in hospital, and that's what you remember?
No, I remember it all.
Oh, right, okay.
I remember being really calm. I remember a lot of screaming in the back. I remember saying something like, just calm down, the ambulance will be all right. Something like that, and I couldn't move. So, like the door frame of the car, it felt like my head was up against it. It felt like the engine was on my lap. You've seen a picture of the car, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mess, and that's me in the front seat.
Well, yeah, you do think, I saw the photo and I just thought, you're lucky to still...
Yeah, massive. I mean, I think on the photo, I think it looks... I say it looks worse, it was bad, but because the roof's been cut off.
Yeah.
So, but I just remember looking down, and I've never broken a bone before. Like when I played football, luckily I never had any injuries. I remember looking down and it wasn't that I couldn't feel anything. At the time, I didn't think about that because everything was on me. But I remember looking and doing something in my hand and me telling my hand to move, and it being like a puppet was moving it. I wasn't controlling it. So I was like, I've broke my arm. That's what I thought.
Which is what you would assume.
Yeah, I broke my arm. And I remember my mate who was driving came round asking me if I was all right, and I said, my neck's killing me, just rub it. Obviously, I shouldn't have done that, but he rubbed it. And he took my seatbelt off because it was just choking me, and there was blood just coming down my face, a bit like Chinese torture, water torture coming down my face. Right. So I thought my face was all smashed in.
Yeah.
Turned out I had a tiny little cut on my head, which was just...
But they always bleed, it's always on the forehead, isn't it?
Yeah, it was up here somewhere, and it was tiny, but it's constant. Airlifted, so I remember taking off in the helicopter, and then landing in the helicopter, but drugs must have kicked in at some point because I can't remember the journey.
Yeah.
And then I remember going into, I can't remember what they're called now, the machine, CT, not CT, MRI machine. And that night, having an operation where they opened me up at the front and it's like scaffolding in my neck and rebuilt the front of my neck. Yeah. I don't remember any of that.
No, you must have been put under for it, surely.
Yeah. And then I remember being in in bed and waking up and first thing I said to my mum was, how would I go to the toilet?
Yeah, but it's a valid question.
Because I couldn't move. I was literally laid. I could feel, but I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I was literally just looking up at the ceiling.
Yeah. And do you think, because I think for a lot of people, sometimes it's like, it's everyone at some point in their life, obviously not to maybe this extremity, but they have something that happens that kind of gives them that renewed view of life, that sort of be a bit more like grateful and that sort of thing. But considering you were 17 at the time, 3 years younger than me, now you literally were in sixth form, how did having such sort of like a life-threatening event at such a young age, how did that alter your view on life?
At the time, I don't think it did. I don't think I was emotionally intelligent enough to even think about that. Because sometimes you think, one life, you've just had this life-threatening experience, go live your life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I suppose there is a little bit of that there, but I don't think I was emotionally intelligent enough to think like that. I think, looking back, I fell quite quickly into depression without knowing it and without anybody else seeing it, I think. So I didn't have that. Yeah, it was. I wasn't intelligent enough to work it out. I was just like, well, this is life. What do I do? And I was still trying to think. Well, you're an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to do what 18-year-olds did. Do you know what I mean? And still trying to work it out. And I'm only now, when I'm getting a bit older, like in my 40s, going, I get it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
kind of, my injury, I'm starting to understand my injury more now, and not accept, obviously I accept it, but I accept what happens to me.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'd had that one life, live it kind of attitude.
Yeah.
I think it was more of, what do I do?
Yeah. Well, you spent the next, how many months was it in Hull Royal?
No, so I spent a month in Hull Royal.
Right.
So a week later, I think, or something like that, I had another operation where they took bone from my hip and rebuilt the back of my neck.
Right.
But that operation, it obviously worked, but they didn't give me enough drugs. So I woke up in the recovery room with a clamp still on my head and all the tubes still down my throat. And I remember that being sheer panic, because I couldn't move. I didn't move until I was in Pinderfields. And I just thought I was choking. Well, I was choking. Lucky enough, I was in the recovery room and the nurses saw and got out. And I remember being really frustrated with the nurses because I just had this really, really dry mouth. I was like, I just need a drink of water, but I wasn't allowed to drink. So they just kept this lollipop thing, dabbing water in my mouth. It was like torture. So then I spent, a month in Hull Royal, and then they moved me to the spinal unit at Pinderfields.
Right.
So then I spent 7 months there.
Got you. And was it Hull Royal that your mum literally lived with you in the hospital?
My mum didn't go home. Bless her. She just stayed at the bottom of my bed, rubbing my feet, sometimes just falling asleep at the bottom of my bed. She didn't. It's only as I've got a bit older, I've realised the impact. I think I became quite selfish. Maybe that's been a bit harsh on myself, but not realising.
Yeah.
It was all about me kind of thing, but realising the impact it had on my family. My mum being away from the house.
But I don't think you can't, I think it's almost unfair to say that's you being harsh on yourself, because you think you've been through this awful thing. The least you can be is a little bit selfish if you need to be.
And I think because of my job now, I see it from I see everything from other people's perspectives and stuff like that. Now, so I look and go, what the impact it must have had on my dad, the impact it must have had on my sister. Do you know my sister she was 13, 14, opening a door to the police to go, your brother's been in a serious car accident. She's got to make calls to her parents. My mum being away from my dad. All that kind of stuff where at the time I just didn't even click onto that. But I remember going to Wakefield, to Pinders, and actually saying to my mum, you can't come with me. You've got to go home, basically. Get on with your life. Because from Bridlington's a bit of a nightmare, as in it's just a pain in the ass to get to.
Right.
It's not easy to get to. For my mum to be there, like Pinderfields is probably about an hour and a half away from Bridlington.
Right.
So they used to come and see me every Wednesday, but I thought, right, I've got to learn to do this, not by myself. I knew I wasn't by myself, but not my mum by me. by my bed every day.
Well, it's a very physical thing as well, isn't it? So I think sometimes almost, nothing changed up here. It was almost like you were just sat there thinking, right, I've got to somehow... the physical stuff of like, obviously you must have had to have gone through countless sort of like therapy sessions and...
No. I'd never got offered it. I've never been offered any therapy.
Wow. And is that's something that surely must have changed by now, surely?
Yeah, I think so. But when I say that, I also, in fact, I had a person with a spinal cord injury come and see me yesterday for a session, and we were discussing it. And it's easy for me to say, listen, I was never offered it, poor me kind of thing. But would I have taken it? I was a bit of a cocky, I think me being a cocky 17, 18-year-old, because I had my 18th, so my birthday's end of November, so I had they let me go home for my first weekend for my 18th. But my cockiness probably got me through it. And would I have taken counselling? Probably not. I'd have probably gone, no, I'm all right. And that's what I did throughout my life, to be honest. I put a smile on my face and told everybody I was all right. So it's easy to say, yeah, you were never offered it. Would it have been different? I probably wouldn't have taken it. Yeah. I don't think.
Probably not. Well, also, that's the thing, you're going to be when you're 18 at the time. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was your 18th birthday that you went out and you got your first legal pint.
I mean, I didn't drink before. No, I did. I got my first I managed to walk to the bar.
Yeah.
A sort of walk.
Yeah.
People probably.
But, a milestone for you nonetheless.
Yeah, and I bought my first legal pint and walked to the bar, which was a bit of a goal of mine. Yeah. But to be fair to Pinderfields, they let me home early because you had to pass like a load of tests before you were allowed home. Yeah. But they rushed it through a little bit because they were like, it's his 18th birthday. I want to spend it in an hospital bed. So I'm really grateful for Pinders for allowing me that. But they drove me through and they're like, I'm quite stubborn. I think my stubbornness got me through. And they're like, right, because I was in a wheelchair. I could walk tiny bits, but I was in a wheelchair. Yeah. Like, ramps into the house. I don't need ramps. I'll walk in. You know, but they're obviously for trying to get everything sorted. I was like, no, I'll walk in. And I'd not done stairs, so they had to change the house around. They put a hospital bed downstairs and stuff like that. But that weekend I was at home. I went upstairs without them knowing. Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't have done it. Basically, Mum and Dad had left me downstairs. I was like bored.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get upstairs.
Go see what's up
there.
Like,
what are you doing up here? And I was like, but at least, and I was always like that. I must have been a nightmare for the physios. Because once I did get walking, I was like, come on, let's do walking in between parallel bars. I was like, now, come on, let's do one more. That must have been a bloody nightmare.
But I almost think that'd probably be better. Because I think physios, obviously, it is their job at the end of the day to try and get people who don't want to do something to do it.
Yeah, but this is when they finished and they were in the office.
Oh, right.
This is when they'd actually finished, yeah. So it was like, because I didn't want to finish.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was more, they'd finished the shift and they're going, oh, you should be resting now.
But it's probably a big reason of why you've got to the point you have.
Yeah, and I was, my attitude in hospital was like, I can do it, I can do this. Yeah. It was, come on, one more. It was always that I wanted to get out, I wanted to walk. Like they said I'd be in a wheelchair. For long distance, they said I'd need to be in a wheelchair and I'd leave hospital with walking aids. Yeah. No, what? Yeah. That was my, and like I say, if, touch wood, it doesn't happen again, but if it happened now, would my attitude be the same? I'm emotionally more intelligent, but, you know, was my cockiness of, no, well, watch this, did that get me through a lot of it? I think it probably did.
Probably. It probably wasn't the wrong attitude to have, but...
No.
Looking back on it now, what do you feel would have helped the most in your transition from rehab and the structure of that to then just being sent home?
I don't know, because I did go see a psychologist a few times. There was a psychologist on the ward. And I was thinking about this the other day, actually. They never once asked me how I was. But...
What would they ask you?
How other people were. And looking back, and the way I've developed as a person, the way I've become a counsellor, I might be really overlooking this and looking too much into it, by the way, but did they see something? Because I've got a lot of friends that have said, you should be a counsellor. You know, that I've said that from a lot of years when I was actually depressed, they were saying this.
Right.
Without them obviously knowing I was depressed.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going, well, did they see something in me? Because my attitude in hospital was, come on, next thing. Do you know what I mean? I never looked out. It was always, I mean, I only cried once in Pinders. And that was due to, because I woke up with the tubes down my throat. The doctor came round and I was on my own. And I broke my ankle as well, sorry, I forgot about that. And I had a pot on my ankle and they said, oh, we've x-rayed your ankle and we're not happy with it because we think it's not healing properly, so we're going to operate and put pins in it tomorrow. No, you're not operating on me. And my mum and dad weren't there.
Right.
So I was like, no, you're not. That's not happening. And they needed, because I was younger, they had to consent for it. And they came through and the nurse was like, he's refusing. And my mum and dad went into the nurse's office and explained what had happened to me. And they went, what? They're like, yeah, that's why he's like that. So I remember my mum coming down into the operating theatre with me for the... All they were doing was putting some screws in my ankle and, count to 10 or something like that. And I think I got about 2 when I was out of it. Yeah. And I think they gave me extra that day because I was out of it for a long time, for a little, I don't know, it might have been an hour operation, might not have even been that.
Right. And was the main reason behind the sort of fear of the ankle op, is that mainly for football?
No, it was the fear of what had happened to me with the tubes
down your throat, right.
Yeah, nothing to do with football. It was...
almost like a bit of like minor PTSD.
Yeah, I didn't want another operation.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have another operation. And I've had, since the accident, I mean, it's been 25 years now, I've had one more operation where they took the screws out of my ankle.
Yeah.
Because you could kind of see them coming through my ankle. So, yeah, it was a bit weird. But the screws were massive. When they took them out, I've got them somewhere.
In a jar.
Yeah, they are. They're in like a jar, and I've got them somewhere. I don't know where they are, but I'm looking at them going, I've only got skinny legs. How's that even possible?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no screws in it now. But the metalwork in my neck will be there forever.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you can imagine, because obviously a bit more of a
and it's tight in
process.
Yeah. It looks like scaffolding in my neck.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to sort of, obviously in this space of when you came out of hospital, obviously the big thing that sort of a lot of people focus on is the fact that obviously you were compensated for what you got. So if you don't mind just sort of talking a little bit about sort of what happened there.
So I got £1 million, which, like I say, my dad was, I'm from working class, car mechanic. I worked before my accident, but I got paid in a little brown paper bag. I worked in a bar. I remember putting the cheque in the bank, and the bank rang me and went, "Is this real?"
They would do that.
Yeah.
What was your first thought when you looked at that? Did you know before you got the cheque that that's what you'd be getting?
I remember having a letter and being offered 100 grand, and the solicitor's letter said, or I think it said in the letter, "Are you phoned me?" or something like that, and he said, "This is a very reasonable offer and we should consider it." But then I'd also been told, never accept the first offer. So I don't know how it changed so much, but I remember a phone call saying, "I can get you 500 grand," and then it doubled to $1 million, kind of within the space of about 48 hours.
Good solicitor.
Yeah,
just managed to pull that out of nowhere.
But I remember just thinking, God, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand money.
How old would you have been when you actually received the compensation?
I think about 21.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, I'm a millionaire. But you think that's going to last forever? I didn't understand it. I'm only just like I say, I'm in my 40s, I'm only starting to understand money now.
Yeah.
It's took me a long time. I've had a bit of a strange relationship with money. I've got a bit of OCD with my bank account. And I've spoke to my supervisor about it, because I have to have supervision for counselling to make sure I'm okay to counsel others. And I was like, have I got a bit of an issue here? Because I check my bank account all the time. And I was like, is it a fear of me losing my money again? Just checking it's still there, because I work really hard for my money now. But I don't think it is that. I just think when I had the money, you had to go down to the bank to get a bank statement.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was, There was no banking apps or anything like that, no online banking. You still paid with cheques. So I just didn't know what to do. I didn't think it'd run out.
Yeah.
Strange. It's weird.
And getting that sort of lump sum of money, the first thing I'd almost feel is, I think what a lot of other people feel is they don't want to tell other people because they don't want other people to suddenly start viewing them differently because like, oh, you've got £1 million, like, are you going to start asking me for things? Are you going to whatever? What was there any thought for you? Was there any change of like how you viewed your relationships at the time because you were a bit...
No.
No?
No, I don't think so. I just wanted to look after my mates, wanted to go and have a good time.
Yeah.
I didn't think any of them were taking the... I mean, I've always said when £1 million comes, $1 million friends do as well, and there was a lot of stuff, but I probably brought that on myself, to be honest, because I'd be out buying champagne.
Yeah.
Bit of a party, you know, it's...
That's what you're going to do, though.
Yeah, I probably brought that on myself, but my core group of friends partied with me, had a good time with me, lived with me, but they're still there now. You know what I mean? When I lost absolutely everything, they were still by my side. So they hadn't before, with and without. So nothing's changed. You won't go, well, I ain't got out now, so we're ditching him.
Yeah.
They're still there now. So it's not really them, it's more about me. Because don't forget, all my friends are all working class. So it was all novel to them, and now if I'm going, wow, champagne, like Range Rover, do you know what I mean? Insuring on radio. They lived it as well. But a bit of me goes, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not glad I lost it all, really. But I'm glad that they all came along with me.
Yeah.
And I didn't go off or... I think for me, I didn't know who to be. So because I got this money, I was like, am I expected to be a certain person? I probably wasn't. You know, it's all in my own head.
Yeah.
I wasn't expected to be another person, but how do I act? You've got this money, do I have to buy the champagne? I don't. But in my head, I felt like I did. There was no pressure for me to buy it. There was nobody going, well, Al, are you getting this? Or there was none of that. But in my head, I was like, well, that's what you got to do. You've got the money. So it was always my own head.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who to be, how to act. And I'm actually quite shy and reserved. I know some people might not think, but I am. I'm not like the alpha male who wants to be in the middle. I'm
seen by everyone.
Yeah, I'm quite. I think I'm actually quite shy until you get to know. Once I know people, I'm really comfortable. I'm fine, but I'm actually probably a bit more standoffish, a bit more reserved.
Yeah.
And I think I came across maybe as a bit arrogant when I had money, and it wasn't because I didn't know how to act. I didn't know. Like I say, I'm not somebody who wants to come in. Hey, I'm here. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it was you had the right view on it, as in you were doing it for the right reasons. You just wanted to have some fun with your mates. You wanted to live a lifestyle with them that you wanted to thought, oh, this is what me and my mates wanted to do.
I didn't think it'd run out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand direct debits.
Yeah. Well,
Never had a direct debit.
yeah. You went on to purchase some quite extravagant, random things. If I'm right in saying it was a big wheel and a carousel that you bought.
Yeah, and a little wheel as well, yeah.
Well, there's a little wheel, just a smaller version of a Ferris wheel.
Mini
Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
What was the, was it just like, oh, those are quite cool, I'll give them a try?
No, I remember being in Mexico with my friend, and he was writing what he said. He says, you need to do something. You're bored. And he was bang on. He was, and his dad owned the seafront, or leased the seafront. And
Is this in Mexico?
No, in Bridlington.
Oh, right.
In Mexico was the original conversation.
Right, got you.
So I went down and had a conversation with his dad, and I decided to invest in this beautiful carousel, and that's where it should have stayed, really. And this mini wheel and stuff like that, and it was all okay. But then they had the ideas of doing this other big, and I loved the idea of it all. But really, you know, when I sit here now, I'm really proud that I did it. You know, I don't regret it. I'm really proud. I regret the way, you know, stuff happened, but not. I say regret. I don't live with regrets. You know, like. But yeah, it was. I think it was 44 metre. Eye on the Bay, we called it. This massive wheel on Bridlington seafront, and it went to the High Court to be passed, and. Again, a business that I was too young to have because I didn't understand it.
Yeah. And how long did you actually have it for?
Not long, because when it came down, the deal down there was they take so much of your profit and stuff like that. And I proposed a contract that they didn't agree with, because I wanted to make sure other things were paid, and then they take their bit, their cut, and they didn't agree with that, and they wanted me. I went for a lot of stages blaming them being a bit of a victim of poor little Allan. Why would they do that to me?
Yeah.
I signed that contract. I knew it was financial suicide.
Yeah.
I was scared, but I still signed it.
Yeah.
I can only take accountability for myself and go, well, you signed it, Allan.
Yeah.
You know, you knew it wasn't going to be good, and your hand put their signature on that contract.
Yeah.
Can't do what else.
And so you lost, obviously, I think it was quite a large sum of the money that you got given through these sort of things.
Yeah, I had another business as well, and the other business probably hurts a lot more than the wheel. The other business felt personal.
Was this the telecoms?
Yeah, ink turners. We sold ink turners, and that was the person who I invested in the seafront. I didn't know them really. I was very close to the sons, but I didn't know. I worked for him in the bar, but it wasn't. I didn't know them. Do you know, there was nothing personal there. That was business, and business goes like that. I invested in the ink turners. I was investing in the person, because we went back. Our families went back, and that went really wrong. And that one feels a lot more personal. Still feels personal.
Yeah.
But also that's been repeated. That person's repeated again. So
right.
I kind of go, well, that's the type of person. But that one hurt more than the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you kind of had this loss of money, and then seeming sort of loss of a friend who you thought it wouldn't go that way, and that hopefully it would.
Yeah. Again, the victim, poor Allan, why would they do that to me? But like before all that, it was probably my fault. I took my eye off the ball. I mean, my mum passed away.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, my mum passed away.
It was 2006, wasn't it?
Yeah, while this was all going on, my mum passed away suddenly to cancer. So I probably had an attitude of, I don't really give a fuck at the time. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I'd lost my mum. So I was like, oh, who cares?
Yeah.
And I didn't think the money would run out. Do you know what I mean?
It's almost a bit of a distraction for you.
Yeah.
Because you think this is the woman who's,
I wanted
lived
control.
by in Hull Royal for a month.
And my mum was my best friend. My mum knew everything about me.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the relationship I had with my mum was unbelievable. I was in Cyprus at a friend's wedding. And I was somebody I'd speak to my mum every day. So when I was abroad, I was ringing, you all right? And I remember saying to my best mate, going, something's not right here, I might have to fly home. And I didn't. And I got home on the Saturday. And my mum and dad had split up by this time, but became actual friends. And my mum was with somebody else in a little town just near Bridlington. And I went through on the Sunday, and it's really bad, I can't remember the guy's name. Pulled me, and he just can have a word. He said, your mum hasn't got a bed all week, but because you've come home, she's got out of bed. I was like, okay. So right, Mum, we're off to doctors tomorrow. My sister actually took her to the doctors on the Monday, and they put her straight into hospital. On the Thursday, they told us that she had terminal cancer, and she had 3 months to a year to live. The Friday, I was picking a sister up who was due in from America. Nothing to do with that. She was just coming over anyway for a visit. So I had to tell her sister that her sister was dying. My sister was heavily pregnant. My mum and dad had split. And I was like, I made the decision of, right, let's just get through to Christmas, because my nephew was supposed to be born mid-December. So I was like, let's have a Christmas with the baby, and and I'll book us somewhere, rent somewhere. Do you know what I mean? I'll make it really special.
Yeah.
And then she passed away on the Monday. So it hit me so hard. It still does.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
when I was about 16, my mum had a brain hemorrhage.
Right.
And so that's one of those things where it's the time period, literally she's fine one day.
Yeah.
And then the next, it's just, she's in hospital and she has to get airlifted somewhere and all this sort of stuff. So I can, see how the impact of it is just like, you go from that person who's been there every day of your life to then all of a sudden it's just...
Yeah, and to be honest, when I first started counselling training, I was like, I don't want to deal with cancer, don't want to deal with death.
Yeah.
And that was my attitude. I deal with a lot of it now. And I'm good with it because I always feel as well that the day I've got to go speak to a counsellor about my mum will be the day that I stop speaking about her. Do you know what I mean? I talk about my eyes still well up. I go to the cemetery once a year, twice a year. When I'm in Bridlington, so I'm during Bridlington mid-December for like Christmas, just for a couple of days. I'll go then, but I hate it, and I'm comfortable with that. Do you know what I mean? It's some people get not pleasure, but peace, I suppose, if they want to go to a cemetery. There's no right or wrong.
No, but I'm of the same mind that sometimes a cemetery has no other meaning than a place for the dead. Yeah. I sometimes think when it's, a family member or anyone you know, sometimes it's nice almost to have like a little ritual that you go do somewhere else or something like that. And
in a nice way, my mum's here, about 4 gravestones down is my nan and granddad, and then just across, literally, I don't know, 30 yards away is her mum and dad as well. So they're all in a space, which is nice. But it's hard. It's hard. I don't like it, but I go show my respects. Yeah, no. Because mum's in my thoughts every day. I don't, it's not something I need to do.
They're around.
I feel that. And it's, I always feel that you've got to believe in what you want to believe in. Like, it always seems to be when I'm reflecting about mum, like a little robin turns up. Yeah. Listen, robins are common birds. But that helps my head. It's like she's with me, and if that helps my head, there's no right or wrong.
You do little things. Fun enough, this bonsai tree, funny enough, I got that when my granddad passed. And because bonsai trees are supposed to sort of represent a soul and a new life and that sort of thing. And didn't necessarily bring him here today just to sit him on the table, but I thought, little things like that sometimes just help you remember them. Yeah, and I have... I'm big with that when it comes to anything in my counselling room. I know that I need, because I've suffered with depression. I'm a believer that I'll always have depression. Should never fall back into it, but I'll always have it. It's always there, ready to bite me in the arse. I have little reminders around my office, around my flat, of stuff that I've done. So when I do start feeling a bit crap, I remember it might be like a little rock or a picture of Ben Nevis or. I don't know, there's a little picture, I've got a little model Concorde, kind of stuff like that. Remember that. It's just little things to reflect on. Yeah, it's changing the environment to change the conversation that's going on inside of it. But talking about sort of you having the sort of coping mechanisms with this sort of stuff, you then went on to start your blog, which was what got you into sort of counselling and coaching, realising that your story resonated with people. Yeah, what kind of happened really was I was really, really struggling, and I was lying to my friends. My phone would be there and it'd ring and it'd say a name, and I'd be dreading picking it up because I thought I'm going to have to lie to them. Because they like, what you call
up to
check in.
Yeah, of course they were. I was like, I don't want them to know I've sat in my settee in a tracksuit bottoms all day watching reruns of Top Gear. Yeah. That's what I was doing every day. Yeah. And every night I'd work out how I was going to get out of depression, and I'm going to do this. And this would be 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, get up 7 o'clock, go do this, 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 and this. Yeah. I'd get up at lunchtime because I'd not slept, and then beat myself up all day because I'd not been out the house. Yeah. And I was just lying to them. Yeah, I've been and done this and that. And I'm like, I haven't been out the bloody house. And then, I can't really remember what happened, but I remember going, I'm just going to write about this, what's in my head. It was before mental health blogs were really a thing. Yeah. What year would this have been? Sort of 2008, 9? No, way after that. I moved to Leeds in 2009. I moved to Leeds because I knew if I'd stayed in Bridlington, I'd kill myself. That's how serious it was. Was that sort of... that timeline, was that sort of after 2006 to 2009 were just a blur. Yeah. And I thought, if I stay, I'm gonna kill myself. I need a fresh start. So I moved to Leeds. When did I write the mental health blog? Well, not that long ago. What are we now? 2024. Yeah. 2015.
Right.
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015, 16. I'd have to look at something around there.
Around that time
But I
period.
basically just wrote, and if you ever read any, I don't write too many blogs. But when I do, I write how I speak, so they're very Yorkshire, very missing words out.
Yeah, no.
But that's me. Because what I did was I wrote it, and I basically just wrote what goes on in my head. I sent it to my friend who, he's a bit of a wordy bastard. I sent it to him and said, can you edit this for me? I ain't touching that, so that's personal. And I'm glad he didn't. And I'd given it to two friends. I gave it to my friend and I gave it to a lass in Manchester who I was close with. And he said, I said, what do you think I should do with it? And he said, and at the time I was living my life on social media. So I was going out, I was crap during the week, I'd go out in Leeds during the weekend and get smashed, and I'd go down Cole Lane and live a party lifestyle. And I had this big stupid beard that was down here and everything, and live this stupid lifestyle. But I posted over social media that I was smashing life.
Yeah, which is sometimes a theme with this sort of social media stuff, is sometimes, not that I think posting on social media is a bad thing, there's definitely negatives and positives to it, but I think sometimes when I see people who are non-stop, their life is on it, I think
there's too much.
It's almost like you're trying to make up for it.
Yeah. And that's like I was just a weekend I'd come in and I'd post on then like different bars, looking like having a mint time. I couldn't get out of my house during the week. I couldn't get out of the flat. It was like having this big rock on my knee, and I'd get to the front door and sweat would be coming out my palms and my hands.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
I have that quote of yours written down, actually. Well, it felt like an invisible rock on my knee, and when I wrote the blog, it felt like a weight got lifted off. Yeah, so I wrote it, and like I said, I posted it to these two friends. Well, gave it to these two friends. One said, post it on social media because that's what you do. The other one said, please will you go to the doctor?
Quick pause of the video to thank you for tuning in today. If you're enjoying, a like and a follow would be greatly appreciated. Stick around until the end for the sneak peek into next week's episode. Now I'll shut up.
So I did both. I did both. The doctor gave me a piece of paper with a number on. That was it. Didn't offer me anything else. Gave me a piece of paper with a number on. And then when I posted this blog, my phone blew up. A lot of it was, can you help me? And I'm thinking, no. I've literally written this blog. I don't know how to help myself. I can't help people.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've written this thing which is so vulnerable about you and how much of a hard time you're going through.
Yeah.
And people will read that and go, well, you need to come help me then.
Yeah. And I didn't have a clue how to help people.
Yeah.
Absolute clue. I'm thinking, I don't know how to help myself here. I don't know what to do. I'm just being real with people because I am trapped in my own head of needing a reason to stay alive every day. And that was my first thought every morning. How do I stay alive today? And I was sick of living like it. I was sick of living that. I always, my eldest nephew, he saved me. I think I told him once when I was drunk at my wedding.
Always comes out when
he was born after my mum passed away on October the 2nd. My nephew was premature and he was born November the 5th.
Right.
Yeah, and he gave me the reason.
Yeah.
I'm lucky these two more that's come along since, and they're all three are brilliant. They're like my world, them three. But he saved me because I used to put it on them without obviously them knowing.
Yeah, telling them as a baby.
Yeah, no, I didn't tell people. But what I do is I wake up every day and go, if I kill myself today, how's that going to affect their life? How are they going to grow up? How's my mate going to handle that? That I didn't tell him.
See, then you can see why doctors, when you had the accident, probably I don't think you're overthinking it when you think they saw something. Because even when you're thinking about the worst thoughts of yourself, you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about other people. Yeah. But that got me through it. That got me through it, just to go, actually, how it would affect them. And I'd pick a different person every single day. Yeah.
But every day it was hard. I think that's why I'm a busy counsellor, because I remember in training they said you've got to be very boundaried, and you only kind of say certain bits about your life if they're they're going to get something from it or something like that. And I just turned around to the tutor and went, what happens if they Google me? I'm all right. Do you know what I mean? My life's on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, and you can lock down your social media, which I do. I have a business page and a personal page, which is all locked down. But you probably do. You Google my name.
Yeah, well,
stuff comes up.
Enough research, put into it.
So, and people when they do come and see me will do the research. So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to try and change the way I work. So I wrote this blog, and then I started going to Hull. I thought I need to try and change something here. And lucky enough, I had a friend who had this little office in Hull, and he'd asked me to do some modelling for him. Listen, I don't think I'm a model, do you know what I mean? But I had a big stupid beard, so I looked a bit different. And I knew how to look moody. I was about it. You know,
is this what he told you? That?
No, he asked me to be model. That's me.
Right, okay.
I don't think I'm a bloody model. God, no. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm doing. But it was good for my ego, you know, and it got me out and stuff like that. And then I started going to Hull. I started a little business called The Next Step, of thinking I'm going to help people, spinal cord injuries and people like that, and experience what I've been through. I'm going to use it to help. And I wasn't fixed at the time. I was a million miles away, but in my head I was like, yeah. And you see it now, there's these coaches everywhere. I'll get on my high horse about this, but coaches everywhere. Let me help you, and they've got a coach. I'm like, they disappear for months and then come back and go, what I've learned in the last couple of months. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get a cold shower, and this will sort you out. I'm like, it's so bad.
Yeah, see, I've never really understood, and maybe you could shed some light on this, but like, I've never really understood what a life coach is. Because I've always understood counselling, and I've understood coaching in other formats, but when it comes to life, I think it's quite a difficult thing to coach.
Absolutely. Because what's saying their way is right.
Because everyone's different, and I understand that obviously you can put certain psychological theories and you can understand that person and then give them the best outset you could and look for it, but I've always just kind of sat there and thought, I can't quite grasp how you can be a life coach.
No, I don't. I got a qualification in coach, but it was more to do with a thing around. It opens up a bit of doors for my counselling kind of thing, of the way I can counsel, because the way I want to counsel is to make it more conversational and try and change the way counselling is a little bit. But I believe everybody's unique. So it's not like, you know, these people like, follow my 5 steps or my 12 steps to freedom in your head and all this rubbish. Like, shut up.
As if there's 12 steps to living.
God, yeah. No, everybody's unique. We'll work some out for you. We'll work out what it is. And I always say to people, the way I got out of depression, because people want to know how I got out of depression. The way I got out of depression, I mean, it's the right way, not that you're suffering, but the way you get out, you know, you're unique. We've got to work it out how you do it. Yeah. But don't follow me.
Because some people, medication really helps them, but then other people don't even want to touch it because they think, if I can't get through it without medication, then how am I going to get through it? But that's just two different views.
Yeah, it'd be easy for me to say, right, the way you get out of it, go climb a mountain and go do this. Yeah. The way I get freedom in my head. Yeah. You might get to the top of a mountain and go, yeah, absolutely, fucking ain't this. What's he done to me? Do you know, if he's not, I can't tell people to go, yes, go climb a mountain and you'll be all right. But there is people out there that do that.
Yes,
so.
Yeah, exactly. But did you ever think, from writing that blog and sending it to your mates and just writing out your thoughts, it kind of changed your life in a way, because it's Massively. What led you down that path. Did you ever think, when you were jotting down those first words, this is really going to change what I do here?
No, I just wanted freedom in my head. I just wanted some peace in my head. I wanted my head to be quiet. I was sick of the noise in my head. It feels like, the simple way of doing it, I feel, is like you've got 2 voices. One voice that wants to tell you how bad you are and you crap at everything, and the other voice that ain't as strong. I always knew I was a nice person, but it's like being a nice person while you're while I was the victim. Poor little Allan. You know, why would people do that to me? I was never going to get anywhere. You know, if you're in the victim mentality, you're not going to be able to do anything. And that was me. You know, so that's why I'm comfortable in saying about the victim mentality, because I was in it. It's horrible. Being depressed is so bad. It's it is good that that we have I think it's mental health month this month, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I get, but it should be like every day, and we still have it's men. it's the
We
male
do
ego.
struggle to open
It's
up
the
a bit
male
more,
ego.
yeah. I think that's getting better though.
Yeah, it is, and I see it. And do you know what? The younger people that come and see me, I always think we're going to be in an all right place. The younger people that do come and talk to me, but it is that letting go and being vulnerable, like me being out there vulnerable, and I think that's why people. I remember my friend, the guy who I told you about, who I first went to infant school.
Yeah.
I remember him. He's always been really. He's always seen the potential in me, even when I didn't see it myself, when I was struggling. I remember being on a night out with him, and he went, bringing 20 quid out, it's like bringing 150 quid out with you. I'm pissed at the time. Well, what are you on about? It's more tequila, we're getting free drinks in this bar. And he just says, look, we don't pay for anything. We don't, and people are drawn to you, and it's not because you've got £1 million in your bank anymore, is it? So you've come here with nothing, and look at the life you developed for yourself. So you've done that through you, not through money or anything like that. And at the time, like I say, I was drunk. It didn't sit with me. But the more I've got, it's kind of clicked. And go, oh yeah, and that I sell myself on being genuine. Do you know what I mean? I don't try and bullshit people or anything like that. I'm like the way I counsel is genuine. It's real.
It is. Even in your website page that I found, which was the Psychology Today thing. Yeah. You had like 8 facts that sort of summed you up. And the first thing was just, I say a lot.
Yeah. Which you're probably going to have to edit this out.
No, it's all good. And as soon as I read that, even as somebody who's just looking for someone to talk to, I'm not looking for counselling, I'm just looking for someone that I think is interesting and to talk to and genuine. And when it's something, I think it's sometimes when you point out almost like a little, it's self-deprecating. Yeah. And it instantly just brings across that point of view of easy to sit down with, easy to talk to. Yeah, and I've tried to learn to try and take the uncomfortable, like you've seen the way I shook hands and stuff like that, but the amount of people that will try and grab my finger, stuff like this, and they just feel awkward. Sometimes I'll try and go in first and go my right, left hand, because I was right-handed before my accident as well, by the way. Right. So I can't use that now, so I had to learn to write again and all that kind of stuff. So lucky enough, I got movement back in this hand. But then I'll say, come on, let's just do a fist pump. Let's have a cuddle. I'm a bit of a cuddler. Right. So like with my mates, they all know it's going for a cuddle. And, but that's the same with me, because that's my mum bringing me up. My mum was always so I'm a cuddler, so I go for a hug, and it just takes any kind of awkwardness out of the situation. But yeah, I'm also someone that'll take mick up myself a little bit. Yeah. Like I always say, I walk with a bit like I've got a stone in my shoe. Yeah. Do you know, just stuff like that. It's the best thing you can do. You can't take yourself too seriously. I think so. Like I say, it's not. Maybe it's not right for everybody, but it helps me. And like I say, you've got to do what keeps your head calm, not what other people say. I remember, I can't even remember who it was, but it was also a mate of mine once said, we were having a conversation about things like mental health, and we were on the topic. And he brought up a point which I thought was actually quite interesting, where he said, I don't get why normally when you get to a certain age, there's always this pressure of like, right, you need to go for your annual physical. Right. And he was like, and everyone does it, and everyone sees it as a really normal thing and something that's really important. But he was like, if I just went for like a one-off therapy session every month, everyone would be like, what's wrong with you? What do you think's happening? Yeah. And when he said that to me, I thought, it is interesting, because you would, as soon as if your mate said, I'm going for my annual physical, you wouldn't ask him what's wrong, because you just think it's a physical. Yeah. But then if your mate says, I've just gone to therapy, you'd think, what haven't you been talking about? And that's how we should be. Yeah. I think somebody should go to therapy. I think probably the term therapy is probably too clinical. Yeah. Counselling gives a bit more of a everyday kind of... The language we use, like, if you're in an organisation, people that come in who are coming for counselling, they're called service users. If you're struggling mentally and then you're being called a service user. Yeah. So I don't even use sometimes I do slip. I try not to use the word clients. Yeah. The people. Yeah.
People come and see me. The people, I do slip sometimes because it's, you know, and I'll collect, but,
Technical terms,
yeah,
isn't it?
But
just
it's people
what's
that
gonna
come and see me. I don't like the term client. It's, no, you're a person.
happen.
You know, and it's, but say I did business at school, like failed business. My business model now as a counsellor is shocking, because I believe that you might need to come and see me each week to start off with, but I don't know people's financial stuff, so I can't. I always say to them, "How often do you want to come?" Because I don't know what you can afford.
Yeah.
Private therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not going to add to your pressure of your finances. Do you know what I mean? Because my job is to help you get rid of the stress and stuff, not add to it.
Yeah.
So I go, well, I'm kind of governed by you, what you want. But if you can come every week, great. But I will actively be trying to push you to every 2 weeks when you get to a bit, because I want you to be out there functioning by and not need me.
Yeah.
But I'm part of that hole in your bucket, I'm part of your toolkit. You know, I have people now that might come and see me every 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But then if something's going on in their life, they go, oh, I could just do a couple of sessions. Cool, let's sort it then. Do you know? Because they know themselves, they're out there functioning.
Yeah.
Come for a check-in because it's a safe space for them. But if something goes on in their life, think, well, I just need a couple of sessions to sort this out. All right, cool. And that's how I operate, do you know what I mean? Whereas when people are in therapy for years and years, I kind of think, what's going on there?
Yeah. As in, you almost start to look at the, not to assume, but you kind of start to look at the people who are giving them the advice.
Yeah.
And you think, you've been doing it for years. I get everyone's different, but
Yeah.
if you've been doing it for years, you think, are you telling these people that they still need to keep coming back just because that keeps your money coming in?
And I do, like the counselling hour is meant to be 50 minutes. And on 40 minutes, just to let you know, I'm going to start wrapping things up. I'll do 60 minutes. Well, do you know? This person's struggling, it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I that's how I kind of operate. I want that person, because I've suffered.
Yeah.
I want that person because I know how crap it is. And that's why listen, there's counsellors out there that'll be, that are more qualified than me, that'll be technically better than me and stuff like that. But I get my basics right.
Yeah.
I remember being told to my advice about getting my basics right, and I make sure I nail my basics and just be so genuine. And because they know I get it, it helps so much. It just to have that presence, somebody having that presence in the room with them, for them to feel safe to go, I don't feel judged or anything like that here. It goes so far.
The first thing a lot of people tell you is speak to your friends. And if your counsellor can't be your friend, then it doesn't really make any sense, because if it's such like a professional relationship. But
it's hard to speak to your friends. I get that. And I will, but friends at counsellors, they're emotionally involved.
Yeah.
So they're going to try and advise. They're going to, do you know what I mean? Whereas I'm coming from an outsider point of view, which makes such a difference. Yeah. That is the difference.
Exactly. But for you, obviously, going on to sort of a big point in your life that you had was the scaling the national 3 peaks.
Yeah, so that happened. That happened over time. So how that started was, I met, at the time, my girlfriend. I met her on Tinder. She was working in Leeds, so I met Jem on Tinder, and I was driving up to her house most weekends. And I wasn't a counsellor this time. I just started training.
Yeah.
Because I started level 2, and I didn't want to go into college because, one, because I've not studied since school.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into a classroom. I'll be well at my depth. So I did the level 2 at home first, and that's when I met her. And I was driving up to her house every weekend, or most weekends. And have you heard of Rosebery Topping?
No, I don't.
So Rosebery Topping's like in North Yorkshire, and if you're ever to draw a mountain, you kind of draw Rosebery Topping. It looks like that. They call it the Matterhorn of the North.
Right, got you.
And it's beautiful. No matter what angle you look at it, it just changes. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I'd drive past every weekend going, the hell is that? I want to get to top it. And my dad is, he'd call himself a mountain man. So
Right.
my dad's one of them that's done everything. As in every mountain he's done. He's someone that's been in the Lake District with a rucksack on, a tent, and gone off for days.
Yeah.
You know, he's been ice climbing with ice axe. And so
A man.
He knows what he's doing on the mountain.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he did take me doing stuff prior to my accident, but I'd not put any walking gear on, since the accident. Didn't think I could do it. I remember when I first got with Gemma, we were very fortunate where we live. We're right next to Gisborough Woods. It's beautiful. So for me to walk from our house to Rosebery Topping, it's 3 miles. Very, very fortunate. But there's like a cafe in the woods, and that's only a mile away from our house. And when she first said about going to it, I was like, I can't walk that. It's too far for me. Can't do it. Because I was so unfit.
Yeah.
So unfit. And I remember we got together January 17, I think. Yeah, January 17 we got together. And then on the 27th of December the same year, his mum's birthday.
Okay.
I said, should we go and do it? Should we go try it? Because you can, literally, Rosebery Topping is so busy because you can park at the side of the road and within half an hour you're up it.
Right.
So I did it. I got to the top in jeans, whatever I was wearing, sweating like mad.
Yeah.
And in fact, she's given me a cup of tea with about 10 sugars in, trying not to get me to pass out. So I am done.
Yeah.
But I looked and looking around and it's like, oh, this is unbelievable. In the sense of it, and it was the first time since my accident that I felt that fight. That fight had come back in me. I was like, I want this. I want something like this.
Yeah.
What I forgot to mention was the doctors had told me I'd be back in a wheelchair at 40.
Yeah, I did know. So, if you don't mind, how old are you now?
42. I'm 43 next week.
Right.
So they said I'd be back in a wheelchair at 40. So I was 36 at this time, 37, something like that. 2018. I'm not very good at maths. So I was a bit younger. And I saw this view and I was like, I want to do something. Because if I'm going to be in a wheelchair at 40, in a few years' time, I ain't going to see this.
Yeah.
So let me take advantage of this. So I went away and said, I wonder if I can do something with charity. And the first thing that came to my head was, why don't I do the Yorkshire Free Peaks? I'm not taking anything away from the Yorkshire Free Peaks. Bloody hard work. I've not done all 3 together, but I've seen. But I was like, everybody does that. Everybody does that. And I kind of have a thing of going.
It's just a mental way to look at it from your point of view.
Yeah, because I forget I have an injury. I do forget that I've got a spinal cord injury.
Absolutely mental.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Everyone does that.
Yeah.
Boring. And it isn't, so I don't think I'm taking that away from people.
No.
I'm really not.
You clearly are just a high achiever when it comes to the mindset that you put on yourself.
Yes, I don't want people to think I'm putting them down. Yeah, God, no. Because it is, and when I look at it, I couldn't do it. I don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
I think you've completed your mountain climbing.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I went away and I was like, right, okay. So it took me 8 months to learn to walk again. Proper, to get out of hospital.
Yeah.
How about I climbed the equivalent of Mount Everest over 8 months? So literally we sat down, me and Jem, got the maps out and worked out what weekends we could do because Jem's got 2 girls and the weekends they were going to be with her dad, what weekends would be free. And I basically mapped out in a weekend of where I could go and climb. And it started off like, right, I'm going to do this for charity. And it did. So I did it for 2 charities, one called the Turning Point Counselling Service, which is based in Brighouse, which I did my placement with. Brilliant organisation in Brighouse for counselling. And another one called Spine, which is like the in-house Pinderfields unit. It's a guy called Kevin Baker that runs it. He's great, do you know what I mean? And they get grants out and they're brilliant. So I thought, right, I'll raise money for them too and I'll go do this thing. So I mapped it all out. And it was going to involve the Yorkshire Free Peaks, but not in one go. So the Yorkshire Free Peaks, Helvellyn, Skidder, they were the 3 big. Oh, Snowdon. Forgot about Snowdon.
Yeah.
Snowdon.
Pretty important one.
Rosebery Topping a lot of times. And in fact, Rosebery Topping was only actually in it once, but I wanted to get additional footage in.
Right.
So just in case I didn't want to get to the last one, Ben Nevis, and go, well, you've not completed 28,000 foot or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there was times I was up on bloody Rosebery Topping at night. But I set off doing it. And can you remember, I don't know if you remember, can you remember when that Beast from the East kicked in? Can you remember it years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, that was bloody well I was doing. So I was out going up all these like different mountains. I mean, I've named all the famous ones, but there was a lot of ones in the North Yorkshire Moors.
That you were doing on the side
and
almost.
and people were coming with me, but I was going out in every horrible condition. So I kind of had to change my mindset because my head, I was going out to see these views. I was raising money, but the selfish bit of me was going, but it's for me, this.
Yeah.
I'm off to see all these views. I didn't see any. But what happened was people just jumped on board. People just came and supported me.
Yeah.
So people that were not hikers, but got involved and they were talking to other people. And all of a sudden, I can't remember, there's a picture somewhere, but I took so many people. I did like a family day at Rosebery Topping and Mountain Rescue came with us. And there was loads. And it was great. And it just brought people together, which I loved doing. And then I did... It was really good because I went and did Helvellyn. So in the Lake District, these 4 mountains that are above 3,000 foot. Skyfire Pike, Skidder, Helvellyn and Scafell. So in one weekend, I did Helvellyn on the Saturday. Beautiful, it was amazing. Set off in shorts, t-shirt, boiling sun, it's steep, really steep to start off with.
Yeah.
And Helvellyn, like you can walk 5 minutes and go, let's just sit down and have a cup of tea, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Could see the summit and we ended up in a storm.
God.
Horrible. Didn't get no views, horrible.
Yeah.
Got down off there eventually and the next day I had to go up Skidder, which Skidder's so boring. Just a long slog, but beautiful views at the top. I had a fall on there actually, coming down. But...
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Did you have any sort of like safety measures in place for this sort of thing?
No, I still do it. I just go and do it.
Yeah.
I've got my mates, they're my safety measures.
Well,
I call them my little team who I go out with now, they're my little Sherpas.
Can trust they won't just ditch
Oh
you.
my God, yeah, they have my back. These 2 especially, which are just unbelievable. And they came on a lot of the Everest with me, and we've just continued it. He is my eyes, feet, everything. I follow him down holding his bag. I follow his footsteps. He's amazing. But I had it was my own bloody fault. I took my feet were killing. I took my shoes off, hit this grass, and lucky my head didn't hit a rock.
Yeah.
So lucky. But I got down off that mountain, and you'd think, right, I've just become the first spinal cord injury person to do 2,000 mountains in a week, whatever it was, you know what I mean, 3,000 foot. Drove home, Jem drove home. And to get in our house, you've got to go down 2 steps and then up a step. I couldn't get down the steps. Couldn't get down the steps. She had to get me in, get me on the bath, undress me, and it was like, it's like being in hospital again. So I'd gone from having this thing of this sense of achievement to going, well, this has just put me in a massive downer, which is really strange because I've just achieved something.
Yeah. But you hear that with a lot of people when, like, I honestly think about Tyson Fury when he spoke about when he won the heavyweight championship of the world, and then instantly in the post-fight interview he said, take this in because this is the happiest you're going to see me for a long time. Yeah.
So I had to just get my head around those type of things. But then we did Snowdon, and then we ended on Ben Nevis, and I proposed on Ben Nevis.
I was going to say, you proposed to your now wife.
Yeah. I think there was 38 of us up. And just
did she have a clue that there was going to be when there was 38 of you up there?
Yeah.
Do you think she had a clue that?
No, she says not. Oh. No. I think she was just so in with look what he's doing and people are supporting him.
Again, very much like you, where she wasn't looking at herself, she was looking at everyone sort of else and what they were accomplishing here.
My wife is she's a beautiful person who puts everybody else first. Yeah, that's Jem really. So I think that was her. Yeah, she was clueless. Clueless to it.
Clueless.
Yeah.
Might have to give her a bit of credit.
No, I don't think she was, honestly. It was lovely. I mean, like popping a bit of champagne on top of Ben Nevis. And it was great.
Your head you must not have been able to get a thought out. You've managed to just get all the way up to Ben Nevis and you've proposed. That must have just been such a feeling.
Yeah, but it was. But my dad again has always drilled stuff into me. Like, you've got to get off the mountain. You haven't done the mountain, you've got to get off it.
Yeah.
It's pointless touching a trig point if you don't get off the mountain.
Yeah.
And that's
true.
my dad's attitude.
Yeah, well, it's
and he's
true.
right. And
It's
the
true.
accidents happen in the last 10-20% of a mountain.
Yeah.
And I am so switched on, or tried to be so switched on, in that last bit of a mountain, because that's when my legs are killing me, and that's when I'm going to fall and stuff like that. So I completely switch on. So it didn't really hit me until I was down off the... in fact, it didn't hit me. Gemma got me, really. I just broke down. That night, we went for a meal, gave a bit of a speech and stuff. My mates were having me because I kept touching my head or something like that. I'm a bit of a fidgeter.
Right.
We went and stayed like in a log cabin the night after on this lake, and she'd got people to describe me in 3 words. I think when somebody mentioned my mum, that's when it hit me. That's when it hit me, like, oh, what you've just achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it really did.
Was that probably because you sat there and thought, I wish you could have seen it?
Yeah, a bit of that. I think that all the time with stuff like I was dreading getting married. I was really looking forward to it.
Hopefully.
But I was dreading the fact I've got to stand up and my mum's not even talk about her in my wedding speech. I was actually all right when I was saying that. It was my best man that went. My best man isn't somebody who shows emotion. And when he spoke about mum, he broke up, which sounds horrible, but really nice for me.
Yeah.
I actually broke up when I started talking about my youngest stepdaughter.
Yeah.
That's when my throat and everything went. No, I think it's more not that she missed it, but she'd be so proud, but just more of what I had. I think I must have been a little bit on autopilot. Just get it all done.
Yeah.
And I think it was the first time my head just went, I think.
Just a release almost.
I think so.
But it's going to be that way, isn't it? Especially when you do have to be in that sort of like locked in mindset to be able to complete everything. Because then, was Scarfell Pike the last one you did?
So no, Scarfell Pike was. So I did that in 2018 and that finished. And then I was like, right, I need something that it needs a challenge and all this things. So I went and people were chucking
Just
ideas.
Just give yourself a break.
Yeah. So I was going to cycle across the country and I can't ride a bike. So I was like, right,
Can't ride a bike as in never learned, or can't ride a bike?
I could ride a bike before my accident.
Right.
My balance is all over. I've got no chance of riding a bike.
Right, yeah.
So I went and tried a three-wheeler bike and so on. I was like, crashed it into the door. I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this. And my friend, so I wasn't actually planning anything, but then I thought, it's the 20th anniversary of the accident. Well, let's go climb, let's go do Scarfell Pike. Let's go, because I'd done Snowdon, done Ben Nevis. The one that was missing was Scarfell, so to complete the National 3 Peaks. So I was like, let's go do it. And then my friend Robert said, just out of the blue, messaging me, so you're doing out this year? I said, well, actually, yeah, I'm doing Scarfell Pike in a couple of months. I said, can we film it?
I've seen it, I've watched the whole thing.
He's
is incredible.
Yeah, he's made a beautiful little film. I mean, it's not great being filmed on a mountain because it's like, can you just come back and walk that bit? I'm like, bloody hell, man.
I was watching it thinking, God, the amount of times that you must have had to have redone little bits.
Yeah, so that bit was quite
shot.
hard. But again, Scarfell Pike, I got nothing, no views. And the way my dad took me up and all, it looks really dramatic on the film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just scree. And it was really hard. So we completed so for the 20th anniversary, I did Scarfell Pike. But not for charity or anything. I found the charity thing really hard to do because, like, do you feel like you're begging all the time? Do you feel like pushing it? Do you not pushing it? Right. I found it really hard, that.
Yeah.
So Scarfell Pike was just for me. Group people came up with us. It was great. And then, that was for Hidden Summit. I love that little film.
I've watched it about 5 times.
Have you?
Because I just thought it was, obviously it was also obviously to learn about you and have some preparation, but I just, even the way that, you're right in the way that, the way that the narrative went was just so, like, it had you involved the whole time. Because I think it's about 15 minutes, 18 minutes,
it's
something
17,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, about that. And it's, So it's a sort of technically sort of like a mid-range documentary, you know, and I watched it so many times because the filming was great, and just even like they filmed all the right bits when it came to like the emotional side of things and the hardships, and they pieced it all together really well.
Yeah, something I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Really proud of. It's but it actually came out a year after the event because he was busy. Do you know what I mean? This was a free. I didn't ask him to do it, so it wasn't something I paid for. So I couldn't
how it always happens.
I couldn't be on him going, "Why are you doing it?" I was kind of like, well, "When have you got the time?" Because he's got to go do paid jobs.
Yeah.
So it actually came out a year after I'd actually done it, but it doesn't look like it on YouTube because he posted it on his website.
Yeah.
And we shared it through that, and it got loads of it. I think like did 10,000.
Yeah.
So then when I actually posted it on my YouTube page, it's only got like 500.
Yeah.
And it looks like nobody's really watched it, which guts me a bit when I see it because I think it's a beautiful thing that people.
It is. It really
people
is.
should watch. Really.
It really is.
Without sounding too big-headed. Kind of thing.
No. I was thinking of putting it in the link to this video when it comes out, because then people, if they want to, can go see how it's.
And I've just done another one actually. So one came out last night.
Oh, right.
It's more done on camera phones that I did because because it was the 25th anniversary this year.
Right.
So I returned to Ben Nevis.
God.
But didn't finish it. Couldn't get up it.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't do it. It's something changed. So this year I went back and did Scarfell Pike again as well. Good actually. So in between Scarfell Pike of Eden Summit, I got this group of mates and we just decided to go out, and we met up one day for a hike. And we said, let's start doing this. And then we went and did Snowdon again. So we went
for the 20th time.
Yes, I've been. We went and did Snowdon as a group, and we went up the pig track, which is a little bit scrambly. And we were meant to come down the pig track and down the mines track, and it's supposed to be beautiful. And we got onto the mountain. We got on it too late. Got on it about 7:45, which for me is far too late. And it was like a music festival. You know, that many people, and they were like ants going up. And I got up it, it's fine. But to come back down it, you could feel people breathing down your neck. Yeah. And I got to the top, and honestly, there was people queuing for 45 minutes to touch the trig point. We didn't. We ate our lunch and we'll get off this.
It probably just makes it feel a little less unique, doesn't it?
Yeah, but some of that beauty, and I'd been down the Mount Everest path before. That's the way I did Everest, and I know it's a straight path, straight down. So I was like, listen, lads, I know we said we'd go down this way, but I said, I'm not doing it. I says, I do have this thing now of like, because I've got a family, I want to get home to them.
Yeah.
Before I was like, and I'd crack on and I made a bit of a selfish, careless attitude. Whereas that, and I'm not like that anymore. I'm like, no, I want to get home. I want to get home to Gemma and Jazz and that. So I don't risk stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm going down the Embarrassed path, and we went down, and it was really nice. So we did that, and then we'd done a few more in the Lake District where it's like we did Grasmere, we did Blencathra, all in horrible conditions. Horrible conditions. I remember being on top of Blencathra, and it was like looking at my glove, and you could see the ice coming on it and stuff like that. We went and did Kinder Scout in the snow where I got stuck in a bog, which came down to, you know, I've over the last 2 years, I've climbed some of the big mountains, and I've been in some horrible conditions. Lucky enough, I've got all the right gear. Do you know what I mean? You see people going up in jeans. I've got all the right gear. We've got first aid kits on us.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like if I've ever got to call mountain rescue, I don't want them to think, what's that dickhead doing?
Yeah.
You know, if they have to, touch wood, they never do. But I'm prepared. So when we went and did Scarfell Pike again, we put another mountain on first. So we did something called Great End first.
Right.
So I went and I had a fall as well. It was set off, and just sunrise was coming, it was beautiful. Set off, and my mate was getting this picture on this waterfall. You follow this waterfall all the way up to Great End, it's really nice. And he's getting this picture, and I thought, I want a bit of that. I'm all over Instagram, anything for the gram. I love a nice picture.
Yeah.
And I went into the middle of this like little stream thing, and I've hit this rock, and I've just hit the deck, smashed the deck, and I was just stuck in this one, smashed on my elbow, drenched. They've all panicked, and I'm thinking, well, did nobody get a picture of that? 'Cause it's a great picture.
Great for Instagram.
Got me out, and I dried myself off. Lucky enough, I had a towel in my bag and a spare top and stuff. But I was in agony. Absolutely smashed my arm for months. Every time, when you, what was all this? I can't remember now. But every time I put my elbow on something, I was like, oh.
God,
So yeah, and then you do Great End, and it was beautiful. And there's a great picture on Great End where we're there in down jackets. Sun's out, but it's cold.
Yeah.
And you sit on Great End and you see Scafell Pike. It looks really great. But then you come and you walk around the back of it, and then you look and it's like that. You think, oh shit, shit, how are we getting on that? Anyway, the way we get up is my mate drags me up really. We get up, and he's like, no, I was like, stop for a minute. And he at one point he goes, stop and turn around and just look. No, just let's go. I'm something. Let's just go. Get my head down. Need a rest. Let's go. And before I knew it, I was at the top. And all of a sudden, I'm on top of Scafell Pike, sunglasses, coat off, boiling. And that was the first time I've gone, I'm happy. Not happy as in, obviously I'm happy in my life, but on a mountain where I've gone, oh look, this is what I work for.
Yeah.
Because I've worked so hard and never had views. Ben Nevis, we had nothing. It was snow, I couldn't see anything. Lovely to propose them, no views.
Yeah.
It was the first time I've gone, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what...
This relates exactly back to why you wanted to do it in the first place.
This is it. And I was so happy. And then to a point where we came down a bit, and there was this grass bank, and we've got 7 lads just sunbathing on this grass bank while people are just walking past us, bit of a dip flask out. And then you're seeing people, and it did kick into, actually, I'm quite harsh on myself. I'm like, well, you should be doing it. You go smash it, that's what you do. You've always gone and smashed it. Yeah. And I'm watching people come, Scafell Pike, you can come up one way and go down one way. When I did Hidden Summit, my dad took me off in a way, did a bit of a circle route, whereas you can go up Scafell Pike or one way up, one way down. That's why so many people do it. It's like snow. Do you know what I mean? And we're dead. I'm watching people moaning like hell and struggling. And get everybody's... It is different. Yeah. But it did give me go, you're not doing bad. You're not doing bad. And then we just had that, and we just got off the mountain. And I did have a fall, actually, coming off the mountain. As we come back and through the grass field, my shoelace got caught in my foot, and I went bloody flying. I was like, I'm on grass. It's flat.
Have you ever had injuries added from these amount of falls that you do because of these hikes and these climbs?
No. Like my elbow.
Because there's no part of you when you fall that you think, there must be a little bit of panic, or just like, oh shit.
I think there is an issue one. I've had more falls in the house than on the mountains.
Right. But in a house, you're in a house, you think someone's going to be there with me. But if you're on a mountain, it must feel a bit more daunting. Yeah, but I'm switched on a mountain. That's why I do it, because I'm so switched on. I forget about everything else. It's like a different feeling.
I am
almost.
so switched on. That's why it's mentally so, because of the way I walk, I am so switched on. That's why I find peace in my head, because it's like, it's not just the physical, it's the mental side. Yeah. I got off there. So I did Scafell again. And I just so happened on Scafell, I just happened to say, oh, it's the 25th anniversary. Well, should we go do Ben Nevis then? And I didn't say that, because I always said I'd never go back. Right. Always, because there's a beautiful picture of me and Gemma on Ben Nevis, where there's just me and her on the trig point, sun in the back. In fact, I've got it as a tattoo on the back of my leg. Oh, right. It looks terrible. I didn't look after it probably. It needs redoing. But this picture, it's probably my favourite picture. It's beautiful. I love it. And you wanted that to almost be that last memory of Ben Nevis. And I'm somebody that don't go back, and I didn't trust myself. And I think I got, not that they really taught me into it, because I don't need much encouragement. Yeah. Well, yeah, go on then. So I went, and I looked at my Strava, after it, and I was like, I'd had this knee injury. Not from mountains, I don't think, but it was like, I think it was a little tear. And I just didn't train. I didn't put my walking boots on. So 3-4 weeks before Ben Nevis, where I live, is this big concrete bank, and every weekend I was up there just smashing that out, trying to get my legs going.
Yeah.
But I felt underprepared. Drove up to Ben Nevis. And I'd even text the lads actually in the WhatsApp group. I said, I'm anxious about this. And it's the first time, probably. There's only ever been one mountain. I went and tried to do Scarfell to be the first spinal cord injury walk to complete the 3,000 footers. And I didn't do it because of the weather. But it didn't feel like failure because that day my dad and that had already said, "No, this is too mad, let's go."
Yeah.
And I carried on with a few mates. And then I ended up walking through this bog and I was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I want to get down. And Jem had gone down with my dad as well. So I was like, no, I'll come off this mountain. So that was the only one I'd failed on, but I don't really count that. There was something in my head on Ben Nevis, and within this time, and honestly, within the first 100 foot, I had so many demons in my head, which I'd never had on a mountain. So many. I was beating myself up because I felt so unfit. I was sweating. I thought, I can't do this. Even though I knew I'd done it before. And I think I'd put so much pressure on myself. And honestly, within 100 foot, I wanted to give up. And I thought, if they can carry on, I'll go to a pub. Because the pub's there.
Yeah.
There's a pub at bottom of Ben Nevis. And I'll just go sit in pub and have a day in pub and wait for him.
Yeah.
Because, as well, we knew the bad weather. And when we pulled up to the car park, there was a charity event and there must have been 200 people going up. Mountain rescue at certain points on the mountain. And when we were going up, people were coming down going, our mountain rescue out letting people go to the summit. You know, for the charity, they're saying, if you're part of this charity, we're not letting you, this is your summit today. And I don't know how high that was, maybe 2,000 foot. Ben Nevis is 4,000. It might have been a bit higher than that. But I managed to keep going. Something happened, I did manage to keep going. And I've always, another part of Everest I forgot to mention was to find my breaking point, because depression didn't break me, the ice didn't break me. I've never given up. So I was like, well, where is my breaking point? Maybe these mountains will break me.
Yeah.
Ben Nevis broke me that day. I found it, but I found peace in it. And it's strange, like I said, that's what that video that I did, that came out last night, is really about, the 25 years. I found peace because some lads did something that day, but Darren and Danny, who stick by me, who have been on every mountain with me, let me call it. They're very good at getting in my ear, encouraging me, come on. It's like, whisper sweet nothings in my ear, I think. You know, number 20, they're amazing for me, and my other friend Lee, you know, they're amazing. I was gutted for Lee that day because he did summit, and it's a long way to go, but him being a loyal friend just did. But the others went, which I'm really chuffed for. And they let me call it. I got to about just shy of 3,000 foot. And I went, lads, I'm done. Something happened. There were 70 mile an hour winds. The rain was smashing me in the face like pins and needles. And you know what? Every other time I've been on a mountain, I've not thought about work. I thought about work. I was like, I've got to work next week. And I want to give 100% to that person who sat in front of me.
Yeah.
They're paying me.
I think, it's almost now, I think that was almost like, now you've got the counselling, you've got your wife Gemma, you've got Jazz, you've got all these people who you know that you want to make yourself safe for.
Yeah.
And these things that you know you want to make yourself safe for.
I mean, dog Gino.
Yeah, exactly. What dog have you got?
A little cockapoo. He's 9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got all these outlets and all these people. And as much as, like, obviously your mates will do these hikes with you and all that sort of stuff, they'll be there whether you do hikes the same way they were there, whether you had money or not. And all
We're
this
still
sort of
going to go
stuff.
do hikes.
No, I'm aware.
I am just not doing. I am not doing 4,000, 3,000 footers. But we're still having weekends away of beers and hikes. Yeah,
no, trust me, I'm aware that you will not stop doing hikes until you literally cannot stop doing them.
Yeah, that's the story.
But I think the main question, because I think we're going to have to wrap up soon, but the main question I actually wanted to ask you at the end of this was, have you ever considered an autobiography?
Yeah, yes, I have, and I've been asked a couple of times to do it.
Or are you one of those who you really kind of want to leave that?
I don't want to do a self-help book because I hate self-help books. But also, I don't feel like I've gone fully full circle yet.
Yeah.
you know, I'm only 42 or
No.
43.
Well, that's what sometimes I see. I'm more meant as in the long term.
Yeah,
Do you see
maybe,
yourself down the line?
maybe eventually, maybe I'd have to get somebody else to write it for. Like I said, I'm dyslexic.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Somebody else is going to write it for me. Yeah, maybe.
But there's people who do that, isn't there? That you basically go and sit and have like a meeting with them every week, and then you tell them more and more and more about your life and stories and all that sort of stuff, and then they write it all for you.
Yeah.
And then, but it's basically what you've said. They
Yeah.
just basically write what you've written, so it is you.
Yeah.
But I think from hearing,
It's hard though as well, you know, because there's stuff that my friend who has my back through everything, he worked for me, he sometimes tells me stuff about when we're in business. So can you remember this, when they did that? And I'm clueless.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that depression that I've blocked out.
but that's still the genuine story of it.
Yeah,
As in
yeah,
still,
yeah.
People aren't going to be sat there going, as much as I'm sure your business classes were thrilling,
Yeah.
I don't think people in your life arc are gonna, you know all the amazing parts that you've done.
Yeah.
If you put it all out in a story, it's, you had a broken neck, you had to go through all of this stuff, and then by the end of it, now you're just like, let's just go on a hike for the fun of it.
Yeah, because it's sense of freedom in my head, and do you know what the biggest thing for me is for everything? And I have purpose. I didn't realise me qualifying as a counsellor to have a title would have on me, because I was always the lad with spinal cord injury. I was always the lad who lost £1 million, the lad who drove the Range Rover, the lad who had the big wheel. When I could say, when people say, what do you do? I'm a counsellor. Massive to me, because I have purpose. My purpose is to help people, which for me is everything.
And as promised at the end, the sneak peek into next week's video. Please enjoy.
Between the ages of 14 and 23, I was in and out of prison or on and off of heroin.
You served one of the terms that you had in prison for supplying Class A drugs, but it wasn't actually you. It was almost you took the rap on the behalf of somebody else.
Between the drug dealers and the police, they were all in cahoots. So I got arrested in November of '98 and I had thousands of pounds worth of heroin on me.